All right, let's talk about overthinking, but probably not in the way you're used to. See, instead of treating it like some kind of bug we need to fix, we're going to explore its intellectual alchemy. Yeah, the magic of turning that mental chaos into a seriously powerful tool. Does this feel familiar? You know that feeling, right? That constant hum in your head, like your brain is a web browser with 100 tabs open at once, and every single one is screaming for your attention? If you've ever felt like that, well, this is going to change how you see all that noise. For most of us, this is what overthinking feels like. You're just stuck, completely trapped in a mental loop, replaying conversations, second-guessing every tiny decision you've ever made. It is absolutely exhausting. You're just spinning your wheels and going nowhere.
And that feeling, that's what we're going to call the overthinking trap. It's the common way we all see it, as this totally negative habit, this little glitch in our brains that we have to squash. And, to be fair, there's a really good reason we see it that way.
Because this trap is very, very real. It's a thing that turns a tiny worry into this giant day-ruining anxiety. It's that decision paralysis. When you analyze so many options, you just end up choosing none of them. And ultimately, it's that mental exhaustion that keeps you glued to past mistakes instead of looking ahead. This is the overthinking we all know and the one we all want to escape.
But, and this is the big but, what if that whole trap is only half the story? What if that incredibly powerful engine in your head isn't actually broken? What if it just needs to be pointed in a whole new direction? And that brings us to a really critical idea here. Think of it like a tale of two minds, because it turns out there are two very, very different kinds of overthinking. So here it is, the core idea laid out. On one side, you've got rumination. It's circular, it's repetitive, it's totally emotion-driven, and it leads, well, nowhere. That's the trap. But on the other side, you have productive overthinking. This is exploratory, it's solution-focused, it's driven by intellect, and it leads to actual insight. The key thing to get here, it's the same mental engine, just aimed at two completely different destinations.
So let's be super clear on what we mean by productive overthinking. This isn't just worrying with a fancier name. No way. It's a deep, multi-layered cognitive process. It's for digging into complex problems, running simulations of the future in your head, and exploring all kinds of solutions. Think of it less like a bug and more like a high-powered operating system for your brain. So why? Why do some of our brains just default to this super high-intensity mode? Well, this is where we get to the heart of it all. The connection between this exact thinking style and intelligence. There are some really fundamental reasons a highly capable mind works this way.
And let me just be really, really clear about this. This tendency to think deeply, to come at things from every possible angle, it is not a flaw. In fact, a lot of the time, it's a feature. It's a direct sign of a brain that is highly active, intensely curious, and incredibly capable. It's your mind trying to do more.
So how does this actually play out? Well, the first key function is scenario simulation. Seriously, think of your brain as a chess grandmaster. It's mentally playing out all the moves and countermoves, projecting dozens of future possibilities and calculating what happens next. That isn't just anxiety, that's high-level strategic thinking in action. Okay, next up, pattern recognition. A mind that thinks this deeply is just constantly scanning for connections. It's seeing the underlying structures, the subtle patterns in this huge sea of information that, honestly, a quick glance would completely miss.
And when you put that scenario simulation together with that pattern recognition, what do you get? You get the third key function, complex problem solving. See, this isn't about finding just any answer. It's this relentless drive to find the best answer by taking a problem apart piece by piece from every single angle to find the most creative and solid solution.
Okay, so we've talked about the what and the why. Now for the really important part, the how. How do you actually harness this incredible cognitive power? How do you make sure you're using it as a tool and not getting caught in that trap? How do you finally turn your overthinking into an actual superpower? First, let's just do a quick check. Does any of this sound like you? Are you just relentlessly curious? Do you secretly kind of enjoy taking complex ideas apart just to see how they tick? Do you naturally find yourself thinking about the ripple effects, the second and third order consequences of a decision? If you're sitting there nodding along, you might already be a productive overthinker. You just need the instruction manual. So here it is. Here's that manual. A 4-step process to make that alchemy happen. First, you just have to acknowledge you're in that negative loop. Just notice it.
Then, the crucial part, you frame a productive question. So, instead of thinking, oh no, I'm so worried about this presentation, you flip it. You ask, how could I prepare in a way that makes me feel more confident? That one little shift lets your brain explore solutions without all the judgment. And finally, to break out of that paralysis, you decide on an action. Just one small, concrete step forward. That's it. That's how you get unstuck.
So, look, the most important thing to take away from all this is simple. You don't need to stop thinking. The goal isn't to silence your mind. It's to become the director of that powerful flow of thought, channeling it away from the whirlpool of rumination and into the productive river of questions and solutions. So, after looking at it this way, I have to leave you with one last question. Is that busy, analytical, constantly worrying mind of yours, is it really a bug that needs to be fixed? Or is it a premium feature that you're just now learning how to use?